What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. Hammerstein, and today we got a new Galaxy device in the house. And you know what, when I actually bought this, I did realize one thing. Yes, I do cover a lot of Samsung devices on my channel, but I do not really cover a lot of the A series. Actually, this is my first Galaxy A series that is on my channel. And the reason for that is actually because if you look at the competition in this mid-range market, you have your Poco phones, you have your Redmi, Realme, and all these other brands which are doing really well in this mid-range market. And with the A series, if you look at the price and if you look at the specs, it doesn't really add up that much. So yes, I do kind of tend to avoid buying the Galaxy A series. But over here with the Galaxy A52s 5G, this is the third version from the A52 lineup. I think this one over here is one of the best mid-range phone you can actually get out there right now. So yes, in the typical Dr. Hammerstein fashion, what we're going to do is of course go through the key specs and features, show you the unboxing, and of course just to see what phone you actually are getting with this one over here. So yes, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, so here is the phone, the A52s 5G, and this one over here I got it in Malaysia for about 1,899 ringgit, and this one is the 8 gigs RAM and 256 gigs of storage. So yes, this is the awesome white color, and in terms of the build material over here, it is using a plastic on the back over here. So yes, you're not going to get a lot of fingerprint smudges over here, and of course in certain regions like here in Malaysia, you can actually get the clear case over here for free. This one over here, as you can notice, it does have over here A52 and A52 5G, and this is the 52s. So yes, they are exactly the same size, so you don't have to worry in terms of the case size when you're getting your new phone over here. Over on the front, you do have a nice display over here, and in terms of the glass panel, this one does come with a Gorilla Glass 5, so yes, it is very good in terms of scratch resistance and also drop resistance. Other than that, you do get your power button over here, you do get your volume rockers. Over here is very clean, and on the bottom, this is one of the most interesting thing over here. You do have your headphone jack, you do have your USB-C charging, and also you do have your stereo speaker setup, which we are going to test out in a bit. So yes, all in all, in terms of just the build and design, this one over here is doing so far quite well. Okay, so next up here, let's talk about the display on this phone. So this one here does come with a 6.5-inch display with a Super AMOLED panel, and it can go up to 120Hz in terms of the refresh rate. In terms of the peak brightness, this one can go up to 800 nits, which is still quite decent. And other than that, in terms of just the color, the vibrancy, the sharpness, the deep blacks, you're gonna get it here with this Samsung display. Okay, and next up here, let's talk about the stereo speakers over here. So you do have one at the earpiece here and also one at the bottom. So yes, you do have a nice stereo speaker setup. Let's listen to some content over here. Okay, so in terms of speakers, to be honest, they are quite loud. In terms of the bass, it's quite there. In terms of just voices, they're also quite good. So yes, dual speakers on this are quite good. Alright, so next up here, let's talk about the battery side of things. So this one does come with a 4500 milliamp battery, and it does come with your 25 watt brick charger. So yeah, it's pretty decent in terms of just battery performance. In terms of Samsung phones, usually they're quite power hungry, but they're also quite good in terms of just overall battery usage. So yes, all in all, in terms of just numbers and what they're giving you, is quite decent. One more thing to note is that the A52s 5G does come with an IP67 rating, so it is dust and water resistant. Okay, so moving forward, we have the software side of things. So yes, this one's running your One UI 3.1. So yes, if you use any Samsung device, you'll be quite familiar in terms of this moving around. You have your Google Discover feed over here. Swipe down to access your quick settings and all this other good stuff. The only thing that you don't have here is, of course, your Samsung Pay. You don't have your DeX mode as well. But all in all, in terms of just the usage, your Edge panel over here as well, all this stuff, you're going to get it here with the A52s 5G. Okay, so next up here, let's talk about the internal specs of this phone. So yes, this one here does come with your Snapdragon 778 5G. So yes, it does have your 5G support. In terms of the number, what does it actually mean? It means yes, it's not your flagship level. This is called the mid-range level, but it's one of the highest. Actually, it is the highest kind of level in terms of the mid-range chipset. So yes, in terms of just performance, in terms of just gaming, it's actually quite decent. You're not going to get a lot of heating issue or lag issues, but of course, just casual gaming, I don't want to go too intense into it. But yes, in terms of usage, it's quite good. In terms of just RAM management, this one here does come with 8 gigs of RAM, but of course in certain countries you do get the 6 gigs of RAM. So yes, check out with your local carriers what do they actually give you. This one here, 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. Now one thing good about this is that yes, it does come with your micro SD expansion, which is something really good at this price point. Alright, so last thing over here, let's talk about those cameras. So going on to the selfie side of things over here, you do have a 32 megapixel sensor over here, which is still quite decent, I would say. It's not the same level as the S21 Ultras and all this other stuff, but 32 megapixel is still quite decent, f2.2, and it can record up to 4K at 30 FPS. And of course, if you switch on to the back over here, you do get your quad camera setup, which is quite interesting. You do have your main 64 megapixel f1.8 sensor with OIS, which is quite interesting because normally again at this price point you don't get your OIS. And of course you do have your 12 megapixel ultra wide f2.2, two 5 megapixel sensors, one for your macro f2.4 and another f2.4 sensor for your depth camera. Alright, so now let's check out some shots from this phone and see how good are those cameras. Alright, so let's check out some shots with the main lens, and what I can say is that yes, it does look really quite good, I would say, for the price point of this. It does look very sharp. Even when you're zooming in, you're still gonna get a lot of details. Not to say very noisy, but overall a still very good shot. And of course, I do like the colors as well. And of course, going on to some other shots over here as well, in terms of the sharpness and details, I gotta say I am actually quite impressed with the A52s 5G. Alright, so now moving on to the ultra wide shots over here, and yes, you will get some distortion on the edges. But what I like about this is the fact that even if you're taking some objects, it's still able to focus very well, which is something really good. And then now going on to some digital zoom over here at 2 times, I gotta say it actually looks really good. You do get a little bit of noise over here and it does look a bit grainy, but overall still a very nice decent shot. Alright, and now let's go on to some portrait shots over here, and I gotta say the edge detection is still quite acceptable, I would say. On the back it does lose out a bit much over here, but overall in terms of details and color, still pretty good. And here is some nice selfie over here. Good amount of details, not a lot of skin smoothing, and I think skin color over here is pretty accurate. And now let's go on to some night mode shots over here. And yes, this is actually taken with night mode on because I did turn off a lot of lights in my room and I still get this kind of quality, so you can expect the night mode over here to be really good. It only kind of degrades over here if you're using the ultra wide over here. So as you can see, very noisy, very soft image, but overall in terms of the cameras over here from the A52s 5G, it's really good. So that is it with the Galaxy A52s 5G, and to be honest, in terms of just the mid-range specs of this, I have to admit that Samsung has done an amazing job with this phone. You get your quad camera setup, you do have your dual stereo speaker setup as well, you do have your headphone jack, you do have your 120Hz, you do have your Super AMOLED. So yes, everything is really hitting all the spots, it's ticking all the right boxes. Yes, in terms of the chipset, it's not your 860, your 870, but the 778 is still very decent. So yes, all in all, in terms of the packaging over here, this is a very complete phone at this price point. So yes, if you guys did enjoy this video and also want to see more of this type of videos, do click the like and smash the subscribe button down below for more videos like this in the future. Do also follow my channel, and also do follow me on my social as well, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also here on YouTube at Dr. Hammer's Tech. So that is it. This is Dr. Hammer's Tech. Stay safe, take care, and wash those hands.